But you know, that's what I did. I rushed to get here. And I didn't make it. Anyway, good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Wake and Bake with Lolo. I'm Lolo. I'm late, but I'm Lolo. Let's check in and see what everybody's saying. Don't you hate it when you... Neil says, oh gee, don't you hate it when you click on Wake and Bake with Lolo and get a Tai Chi for Seniors video by mistake? Neil, that was no mistake. We're moving into senior Tai Chi. That's right. Get up, everybody. We're all going to stretch out now. Dragon breath. Come on, dragon breath. Good morning. Well, Jane was here, and Neil was here, and Karen was here. I wasn't here. I'm so sorry. I'm here now. I'm going to probably start the Jack stuff, and then I'm going to go get some. I'm going to go make some coffee, because I haven't even made any coffee yet, because I'm a fucking idiot. That's right. I said it. Anyway, good morning. I missed you guys. Happy New Year. It's New Year again. Ooh, the cold is worth it for snow. We have damp, boring cold here. Oh. It's very... Oh, thank you. God, one of these days I'm going to get it perfect. But, you know, maybe I meant to do that. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't mean to do that. Where the fuck's the music? Bitch. Why isn't it up farther? Anyway. Good morning. Oh my God. Everything's wrong. Everything everywhere all at once. Is this the tilt? Yeah, this is the tilt. Hold on. I just want to move my camera a little bit. Yeah. Good morning. Audrey and Teresa and Lee. Lee is listening while she's doing laundry. You're, oh boy, I bet you have laundry after your trip overseas. Teresa, good morning. You're softer than the music. That's fucking stupid. God, man, what is wrong with me? I'm telling you right now, I need an audio engineer because clearly I don't have an audio engineer type of brain in my head. And it makes me, like, mad. Oh my God, I need to go fix my hair. I should really, like, get ready before I do the show. That's probably, like, the smartest way to do this kind of thing. I don't know. Maybe I'll make it. Maybe I won't. Jane, it's minus 29 with the wind chill, so I'm staying in. No shit, Neil. God, that's freezing. I don't believe in ironing, Max. I had my ex-husband was in the Navy for a minute, and he learned to iron there, and he ironed everything all the time. And we worked, when we were married, we worked in financial services together, so we were both wearing, like, business clothes. So he would always iron his stuff, but he was a really good ironer. I was not ever. I'm like you, Max. I don't iron. If there's an iron involved, it ain't going to happen. Carrie, good morning. Good morning, Carrie. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Yeah, Lee's pumping iron this morning. It's what we call it. Oh, my God. What a mess. What a mess I am. Negative 29 Celsius. Uh-oh. Do we have to do this? Do we have to do the math again on Celsius, Fahrenheit? You know how I am. I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do that. So I hope you guys are doing well. It's Friday. Oh, my God. It's Friday. It's Friday. It's Friday. It's Friday. It's Friday. Thank God it's Friday. I need to get that song, like, little thing. No homework. No homework. No homework. My dad was the best ironer from Air Canada. Oh, Jane. Yeah. See, that's the thing. When people are involved in jobs and shit where their stuff needs to be, like, super perfect, I guess you learn how to iron efficiently. So, you know, I don't know. Good for you. I was always very proud of his ironing ability, and I didn't have to iron, which was my favorite part. Anyway, good morning. Good morning. So let's see. Today I'm gonna do Jack Smith. Well, I'm not gonna do Jack Smith, if you know what I mean. But he's happily married. No. Today we're gonna listen to the final couple of hours, I guess, of probably not totally a couple of hours of Jack Smith. And then I have some articles to read and all that kind of good stuff. Grace Lisa, good morning, darling. How are you? How are you? It's good to see you. Ironing is not permaculturally sound. Thank you. Thank you, Carrie. Permaculture is that like an environmental? I don't even know what that is. Yeah. So one thing I kind of want to start off with something this morning, although I'm pretty tired, so I probably shouldn't tackle any topics when I'm tired because I probably won't say what I really want to say. But I'm frustrated. Can I just tell you, I'm very frustrated. I'm very frustrated. And the reason I'm frustrated is because I watch a lot of YouTube, right? Like, we know this about me. I watch YouTube. And the convoy, watching the convoy really poisoned my brain around the content that sometimes I am drawn to, whether out of boredom or out of, morbid curiosity or the morbid desire to inflict pain on chuds. Like I've got this, like for some reason I'm working out everything. Oh, good. It was pretty nice here too. It's cold, which is nice for LA when it's a little colder. So I'm not complaining because I'm very lucky. It's not negative 29, whether it's in Fahrenheit or Celsius. So anyway, all to say that the convoy really, it was like a daily job to, have we seen what the baby looks like yet? No. It really got me, I got engaged in all this trolling activity, as we all know about the convoy, and really going after chuds. And a couple of those chuds have, kind of had a somewhat lasting impact again. Oh, is she? I don't even know. I don't even know what she looks like. I'm going to be honest with you. And so sometimes I find myself watching old chud related people because there's nothing else on. Number one, that really is it. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if there was content that I wanted to watch on or I could find easily, I would just watch that. But anyway, and I'm also intrigued by online conversation. It's like it was crazy trying to keep up with it, and it really altered us, I think, or some of us, maybe not all of us. And I had my own experiences with the convoy that actually were very painful, and I think that's part of why I look at it in a different light than some other people might, because it really ended up kind of fucking with me a little bit. But all to say that, hi Easily, good morning, hi darling. All to say that I'm not always proud of the continued watching that I do, but I'm also hungry for online conversation that I think is interesting, or something like that. And for example, I know some of you know who Jack Talcott is. I have commented on his show in the last couple days, much to my chagrin. And just because when I'm watching shows, normally I'll just kind of like hate watch, like on his show, Jack Talcott, I came to him, F the convoy. I came to him because one of the convoy people named Golden Renaissance, who is a fucking trust fund baby incel. God, I hate that guy. Anyway, I found Jack Talcott because we all followed Truther Cop over there, and he, became part of the lore in some ways. He's just showed up on my For You page. So when he does, I'll go in and just listen because it's usually provocative. It's a lot of incels. It's a lot of, strange conversation. And so it does two things for me. It feeds that kind of troll piece of my heart. And it also informs what I do as part of everything that I do, which is observing kind of what is right wing or right wing ish media. And the incels are right wing, whether or not they want to admit it. So, unfortunately. Um, so, uh, this is how I came to find this particular channel. And a Golden Renaissance is just a trust fund baby. He lives in somebody's basement, and I remember when he went to YouTube to terrorize the YouTube headquarters to terrorize YouTube employees, because he's a LARPer. He's a guy who runs around going, I'm gonna audit this place, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna, like he literally thinks he can kind of run into situations and just LARP as if he's, trying to crack the case or something like that, or however those right-wing guys run around and try and expose everything. Yeah, I watched both the American and I started with the Canadian convoy, and what I would do is go into chats like what was his called? War Eagle or something like that, or Miss Dr. Bubbles, or whoever the streamers were in Canada. I would go in and say, Trump is dead, with a question mark. And I never got a response, so nobody cared if Trump was dead in those. But that's how I started trolling. And then I trolled the American convoy, blah, 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 etc. I find those type of personalities interesting in a very weird way. Right, exactly. Grace Lisa, I have that thing. It's my it's my problem. Peace, love, understands. She knows some of these people too. Max knows. She knows some of these people. So, all to say, Scott, I didn't see you come in. I'm so sorry. I love you. Good morning, Scott. Oh my gosh. All to say, so I've been going in. I went in like a couple times in the last like week or so, and I made a comment because they were talking about so Jack Talcott. I don't want to speak for him, but he believes that he has been. That he is now seeking truth and trying to be Christ-like. And his big idea, is that he wants to solve all wars. He's a peace activist. Well, he's focused on peace. And so he wants to sit down. His plan is to sit down with Donald Trump and convince him of the wisdom of ending all wars. That's what Jack wants to do, which is admirable, right? Like, to end all wars is actually really admirable, and I'm down with that. I mean, when people talk about this regime and trying to accomplish something with this regime, it kind of gets my goat a little bit, because I feel like you guys, a lot of people we know, have worked really hard to document and fight disinformation wherever we see it. And I'll be honest with you, if I'm in a chat and I say, if I hear something like disinformation wise, I say something about it, which is dumb. I know, because nobody cares what I'm saying. They're here to hear the disinformation. So I am the drama. So a couple times I've been bitchy in chat about, disinformation about the way, that you can just go in and convince Congress to stop wars, or you can go in and meet with Trump and he'll stop wars, and you can meet with Elmo and he'll stop wars, and all this stuff. It's just naive. It's naive, but to a point of also spreading disinformation, which again is not I'm not the disinformation police, but it also gets under my skin a lot. And so I tend to strike out when I see or hear disinformation. And it's fun. It's fun to offer facts when people are being stupid. So anyway, but I'm woefully misunderstood on the streets of YouTube, because they think that I am either an echo chamber or I'm listening to corporate media, or whatever it is. Whatever it is that they think I'm doing or not doing, that's what it is. Badger and meowing. Hello, good morning. 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 So I have said a couple things in the last couple of public service. No, I know what I am. I know I'm a concern troll. I get it. I'm concern trolling because when you concern troll, you throw a what about, well, you don't know who all the people are, like concern trolling type of thing. But it's not welcome. It's not welcome in those spaces, and I get it. So, yeah, I just call them perverts, which is true. And this is the other thing, and unfortunately, I hate to make this all about. I mean, it just happens to be the show I've been watching, so I apologize. But I think Jack. This is just my observation. I think Jack really believes that he is acting in the spirit of Christ. Now, he's never read the Bible, but that's not. Put that to the side. Put that to the side. Okay, which is fine. Again, I don't think I've read all the Bible. Maybe I have, but I'm an atheist and I've gone through all that. And I went up on his panel, like totally out of character. I went up on his panel a few, like last week or something, and said, I think you just it strikes me that you don't know all the players and all the pieces, and it's great, but you're not actually like moving forward. You're looping. And what you do, Jack, I'm going to tell you, you're surrounding yourself with incels and the Thorpes and other people who are just like IP2. They're like the part of the internet that is pretty fucking useless. Like it's a level above Chan's is what he's dealing with. Like he's inviting all these people that are really incelish into his panel, which again, that's his. Hey man, it's your show. You do what you want to do. But what you're telling me is that you want to achieve something greater. And and either the people on your panel and in your world are your path, which is fine. If you want to say that my job is here, I'm going to help these incels, get their shit together. I know, Dean, isn't it stupid? I'm stupid sometimes. That's what I'm if your intention is to go ahead and try and fix incel culture or rape culture, that's one thing. Great. I'm supporting you 100%. But what I've seen on Jack's show is that he invites that culture in. He invites in the incel culture. He actually invited in rape culture. I saw on a show recently with this Grace Thorpe character and her father, which there are two characters on the internet who have been accused of sleeping with each other as daughter or father and daughter. And I mean, just all kinds of shitty situations. And they're trying to be internet famous. That's what they're trying to do. I'm telling you, this is one step above the fucking Chans. Okay? So my advice to him was, if you want to actually solve wars and understand and work in Washington, because he moved to Baltimore just to be near Washington, if you want to do that, then stop surrounding yourself with fucking incels who want to argue with you about whether or not you're Christ-like enough for them. Like that's what you're doing. You're spending time wallowing in incel culture and now encouraging rape culture, right? So I don't know if they dance on the internet. I don't know what they do. I've only seen them on this show, but I've heard what their lore is in some ways, and it's stupid. I mean, the dad's trying to fucking make $1 million using his fucking 20-year-old daughter. It's gross. It's fucking gross. And the guy is gross. So Jack, if you're listening, which you subscribed to my channel and you told me I was a beautiful person, blah, blah, blah. If you don't, then you need to reject rape culture on your fucking show. And I'm going to tell you right now, that guy, whoever Thorpe, whatever his first name is, I don't know. He's rape culture. He's not with it. He's not a normal human. He's a fucking 8chan. As are all the people you're surrounding. And now if you're an 8chan, I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong place. Oh, yeah, he comes from all the unslaved people. Yeah, these are all the people who believe they're wage slaves and they're this and they're that, which is fine. Yeah, they probably are. They're perverts. But I'm going to tell you right now, you're not going to solve any fucking wars surrounding yourself with people that are, teasing the internet on whether or not they're fucking their daughter. Okay? If you're teasing the internet on whether you're fucking your 20-year-old daughter, you're a piece of trash, is what you are. That's what you are. So go fuck yourself. On the other hand, if you want to talk about actually what's involved in this global politics that we're involved in, and you truly want to stop wars, well then let's have a conversation about what are the dynamics, what's involved. Do you even know about the Council for National Policy, Jack? Have you ever heard of Mike Flynn? Do you know who any of these forces are that you're trying to work within? So I don't see I don't see the work being done to actually try to understand who you're about to meet with. And again, if this is magical, if it's just supposed to be magic, that tell me, because if it's just supposed to be magic, well then again, it's not my party. But if you think it's magically going to happen, then great. Go make it magically happen. I'll leave you alone. But you seem to be asking for advice. Oh, they definitely bring that. You seem to be asking the world for advice on how to help Donald Trump stop wars. But then you don't want that advice. Because what Jack then tried to tell me was that, but Lolo, if you could just open your mind, and what if it was possible that I could end that we could end all war? What if it was, and first of all, I've been a peace activist longer than this fucker understood who he was, okay? I've been a peace activist since the fucking beginning, so go fuck yourself. You don't fucking know anything about me and what I do. So go fuck yourself, number one. And if you're really into that, then you shouldn't be threatened by information which is supposedly going to help you. But what instead you're surrounding yourself with is people who have no clue what's happening in the world. And then here's the other thing I heard, Jack, was that you talked about the fact that you thought that there was a both sides issue in the Ukraine-Russia war. What is your fucking delusion? Do you not understand? Do you not understand the history of Ukraine and Russia? Do you understand any of that? No, see, this is what I'm talking about. You sit there and think that you proclaim on your show that Ukraine is equally responsible and could do something to end the war. Bullshit, sir. They were fucking invaded. And if you knew your history, you'd know that they've been invaded by Russia. And if you knew anything about Putin, you'd probably know that Putin isn't acting like a normal human being. And, oh, have you met his mother? So, forgive me. I'm not saying that I'm the one to solve all the problems. I'm definitely not saying that. I'm the media literacy girl, okay? I'm sitting over here trying to read original documents on the internet and understand what's happening, and then I'm trying to move my ass onto the street and stand up for my neighbors. So yeah, Truther Cop, or Golden Renaissance, or whatever you think your name is, Trust Fund Baby Incel is what I call you. He went up on the show afterwards, Trust Fund Baby Incel, and said, Lolo gets in a dinosaur suit and, stands on the street kind of stuff. And I'm like, how dare you fucking minimize what I do in this world to try and make other people's lives better? How fucking dare you? You can't lick the bottom of my foot. You understand? So stop misunderstanding me, chuds. I'm not here to win an argument with you. I don't give a shit. I'm here to learn, and I'm here to help people, and I'm here to educate people if I can. But I started this show so I could learn about what's happening, so that I would read those documents. That's why I started my show. So I think I'm actually doing a lot more than Jack or any of these assholes to try and advance a mission. Because I actually have a mission. And it's to increase media literacy. And it's to emphasize and make original documents entertaining. And it's to go deeper on Congress and other things in our world so that we understand how they work, because that's the way I learn. Now, if you learn a different way, start your own show. That's great. But I know what I'm doing, and I know who I am, and I know where I've been. You know, like I know who I am. So it's just like, stop. I know arguing is their thing. You're right, Dean. I'm stupid. I know I'm the dumb one. Okay, I get it. I'm the lol cow in this situation. I put myself up for it. But, you know, sometimes I like to have a conversation on the internet, too. You know, like I'm not going to just take the high road all the time just because I'm the one that has to take the high road. Why doesn't anybody else have to take the fucking high road? So yeah, you know, like, fuck, man. Like, try and understand. And I don't understand half of what we need. Golden Renaissance is a trust fund baby. That's what he is. Yeah, he's a Nazi. He's playing with the N-word. He thinks, oh, and that's the other thing this group doesn't think. This group thinks that words don't matter. They think that words should be like, but this is all white people saying it, mostly. I mean, there's not all white people, but about 90% of them are white. And what they'll do is they'll sit there and go, oh, words are just words are words, so that they can say the N-word with impunity. Because they feel like they feel like if black people use the N-word, that black people are taking away something from white people. Do you understand that? That is what they think. But you know what? Guess what? Words do matter. Generational trauma matters. People's feelings matter. I learned that in kindergarten. I don't know about anybody else. I learned that in kindergarten. I don't say things that hurt people intentionally unless I mean to. But I don't want to use the N-word, and it's easy for me to avoid using the N-word, and there's no reason for me to use it. And guess what? I know that if I use it, I'm expressing this deeply rooted historical meaning of hate that every person who's the recipient of that epithet understands what is being said. The incel saying it may not understand what the deep, deep meaning is of that word, but the person receiving that word absolutely understands it. So yeah, words matter. And it's pretty fucking easy to be a decent human being and not use words that frankly don't serve us. And I don't think Christ would like that if he were real. You know, like, anyway, I'm sorry. I just had to get that off my chest because I don't have anyone to process here. So you guys are my process. And I'm happy to have a debate. I would actually love to have a conversation with Jack. I'm not going to do it in the middle of, you know, Dick Panel. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going up on Dick Panel with the Thorpes. And Golden Renaissance. That's never gonna. Paul Enslaved. All these people. Fucking weirdos. You don't even know what slavery is, you motherfuckers. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm gonna tell you a story. I was in Haiti. I was outside of a town called Jacmel, in the mountains outside of Jacmel. And that part of Haiti is notorious for Restavik, which is child domestic servitude, sexual servitude, etc. And in Haiti, one of the big issues is child abduction and sex work for children and housework and domestic servitude and other things, right? So I so I was working with some local organizations. I was just visiting the programs that we were assisting on the ground in Haiti. And so I was in the mountains and I was walking with my friend who runs the program down there. And we were walking up to a village so that we could meet with some of the parents who had actually organized because of the work that we were doing or with them. And they organized and they retrieved some of their children back. And that was the goal of this particular program that I was working with, was to help families reunite children who have been put into into domestic servitude. So, trying to break cycles of that type of stuff and all that. And it was good. It was a great it is a great program. I hope it's still going. And so we're walking up this very steep, like small path, alongside the hillside. You walk up the hillside. And this woman comes up to us with tears in her eyes. Seriously, not like Trump says. And she says, she's speaking in Creole to my friend who's Creole. And they're talking about, and it turns out her son, her baby, has conjunctivitis in his eyes. Right, he has conjunctivitis, and what would be simple medicine, right? In the States, you'd go to the doctor, you'd get some medicine for the conjunctivitis, and or pink eye. I can't remember exactly. It was an eye condition that could have been easily solved by medicine. And I'm going to tell you right now, the feeling that I had in that moment of talking to my friend. There's nothing we could do to help her. Zero. So, the illnesses that this is like 10 years ago. This is not like, back in the day. Sorry. Back in the day. No, it's the same. That it's like now, right now, today, there's a person who cannot get simple medicine for their child and are violently worried about what's going to happen to their child. And I know that happens everywhere in the world, but I'm just saying, that's why I am the way I am, I guess, is because I feel like I just have, it's not that I've seen, I just feel like what I've seen, let me put it this way, what I've seen has impacted me very, very deeply. And so I think the chance and the that kind of behavior, the waste of time and energy that is spent on being bitchy to people on the internet or targeting women who you don't like, and deciding that your whole job is you're going to create entire Patreons to sit there and talk about people for hours on end, encouraging your viewers who then turn around and go and call actual legal services on people from the internet. I'm sorry. I've seen people die in front of me. I've seen mothers cry that their children aren't going to get medicine. I've been in a slum in Monrovia, in Liberia, trying to find a child who wrote me a note saying, I can't remember, it's like a chapel or something. I'm in the chapel and I don't want to stay here. So I went into that slum, into the chapel, to the guy who was basically raping girls in this slum. And I got that girl, and I brought her back to her mother. And you know what? I don't know if that's going to solve the entire problem, but that's what I had to do in the moment, okay? That's what I had to do in the moment. And it was only because there was someone intimidating this guy to say, no, that she needs to come home. She's not going to stay here. She's going to come home. I met with the gender minister to talk about a first grader who was being raped by her uncle. And we fought that office for months to try and help that first grader who I had to look in the eyes every day as she came to school, knowing that she was being raped. So don't fucking talk to me. Don't fucking talk to me about standing in a fucking dinosaur suit. Don't fucking talk to me about it. So yeah, I take this shit real seriously. Yeah, I do. I really feel it when I don't know why other people don't. I assume other people feel the same empathy and deep pain when people are being kidnapped off the street, or children in Gaza are being bombed, and we've, as a country, have just not done anything about it. And I am just as complicit as everyone else in this, and it drives me insane. So yeah, I have a problem with incels. I have a problem with platforming bigots. I have a problem with platforming all that shit, okay? Because I'm doing this because I love it. And I'm doing this because I really, really fucking want to help people. Arrgh. So yeah, I'm gonna come and I'm gonna drop some truth bombs on you once in a while, you know? And I'm not always going to be right. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying when I say something, I'm going to say it from a position of some knowledge. Anyway, good morning. Okay. I haven't even had any coffee. I don't even have any coffee brewing. Just imagine if all the energy that was put into goddamn fucking incel Chan fucking bullshit. Just imagine the energy. Imagine what would happen, what we could change if our energy was put towards ending this regime, for example. Right? Just imagine. Just imagine what could be. I don't know. And I'm going to get some coffee. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start the Jack Smith stuff, and then I'm going to go make coffee, and then I'm going to come back. Thank you for indulging I really needed to get that out. They don't care, Lolo. The comments that I've gotten on my shorts recently about immigration stuff is oh, I know. Oh, my gosh. If you haven't seen, Peace Love has been posting a lot about what's happening in Broadview, Illinois. And immigration and against the ICE facility down there. So I would follow Peace Love and grab information and support. Show some support because you get hammered by fucking assholes, you know. I don't get that many assholes. I got one person saying, "What, should trans people be more special than other people?" And I went, "No, but shouldn't they be special?" You know, like, again, I'm not sure. It's not a contest. It's not pie. And I think as long as someone doesn't have complete rights, then really no one does. That actually makes a ton of fuck sense to me. You know, like if everybody has, you know, if everybody has rights, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Okay? Yeah. It's not pie. It's not pie. Wow. And you know what? If you think that, then you are a bigot. I'm sorry. And we use words. That's the other thing they hate. They hate when I call them bigots or racists or whatever. And I'm like, words are what we invent in order to describe what's happening. And incel is a word that describes immediately, it evokes a picture of what I'm trying to convey. That's why we use words to convey ideas. I get you don't want to be called that word. Nobody wants to be called anything like that. But the key is to not give people a reason to think that you are that. Right? Right? And it actually doesn't matter what you think about what you say. It kind of matters how people take it. Kind of. Now, there can be misunderstandings and clarifications and blah, blah, blah. But if you're running around using the N-word, then you're a racist. Sorry. Because it's a power play. Because even the act of you, let me break it down for you. Even the act of you using that word is you demonstrating that you have power over someone else. I know, it's crazy, wacko. I'm blowing your mind today, but all right. Okay, let's find Jack Smith. Jack Smith, you're so great. I love you, Jack Smith. Jack Smith. Anyway, I'm sorry. And another thing. Get off my lawn. Yeah, peace, love. Oh, you guys are so great. Okay, let me find my Jack Smith. Oops, that's not typing. Let me find my Jack Smith. Boom, boom, boom. And I'm not special. I'm not trying to say I'm special. I'm just saying I've had a lot of experiences in my life that have informed why I am the way I am. That's why. This is what I'm trying to tell you, is that I'm not just some bitch that came in and said, oh, yeah, I don't think this is right. It comes from, there's painful experiences behind it. Okay, where am I? Where am I? Where do I belong? Whoa. Wait, where was our, oh, let me go to my history. History is great, yeah, yeah. History is great. History. Is this it? No. Is that it? Yeah. Oh, I guess it is. Scooby doo 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 doo. Scooby doo 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 doo. All lives matter. Yes, Teresa, it's the same fucking crowd. I'm saying you're special. Thanks, meowing. I think you're special too. I think we're all special. I think I found a really group of people that get me, and I get you, and I really love that. So yeah, it's nice to be gotten. You know, it's nice to be gotten. Isn't that yeah? I try real hard to not to argue with the dum-dums. I just delete comments and not. Oh, you know what? You're so brilliant. You're very brilliant to do that. Speaking of transgender, I had to break it to my MAGA people that Casimir Pulaski, the founder of the U.S. Cavalry, was transgender. Well, see, you know, transgender people are people, number one, and they've been people have been transgender for since millennia, since people began. So I'm just not sure why this is an issue, but yet it is. Here we are. People are dumb. They don't get it. Hi, Jim Nelgren. Happy New Year, Jim Nelgren. Jim, are you feeling okay after that little fender bender you had the other day? I hope you're feeling better. All right, let's get this. Jack Smith, you're the man of my dreams. Jack Smith, you make us all scream. Oh my God, that works. Hey, you guys should be really proud of us because there's a core group of loungers that finished all 9 movies of the Star Wars franchise. And now we're officially nerds. We watched 9 Star Wars movies in a row in chronological order. Not in release order because that's weak. Oh my God, I'm in a silly mood today. Okay, we're gonna stop. I'm fine. I just hate dealing with. Oh my God, girl. Oh my God. Yeah, I get you. All right, let me make sure this works first of all because we know how I am, and then I'm gonna mute myself.
Party, I think he would have been an effective witness. He did not agree to go along with it.
Did you have the opportunity to interview Mr. Pence as part of your investigation?
Can we stop for 1 sec?
We go off the
Can
record.
you hear it?
Go off the record, yeah.
Can you hear it? Let me let it go for a minute. Did you hear him talking? Because
I'll repeat my question. Did you have the opportunity to interview Mr. Pence as part of your investigation?
I think the answer to that question might involve 6E, and so I'm not going to answer that.
Going back to the response that you just talked about with Mr. Pence's response to President Trump's pressure, is this yet another example of evidence that showed Mr. Trump knew or should have known that what he was saying to the American public was false regarding the election of 2020?
Yes. the vice president was one, and this is alleged in our indictment and our filings, was one of several people saying he was not seeing the outcome determinative fraud that Donald Trump was claiming.
And what would have happened if Vice President Pence would have gone along and refused to count the lawful elector certificates?
Well, thankfully we don't know, but I would say that he and the other people who stood up and said, I'm not going to do that, may have changed the course of history in terms of our country, of having an election where someone took power in our country who didn't actually win the election. So, as I said, I think it took a lot of courage on his part. He's also someone who, as you all know, when the attack on the Capitol happened, he wouldn't leave. People wanted him to leave. And I think, again, that reflects very well on him.
My last question, I know earlier when you were talking to the majority, there was this discussion of First Amendment issues with Mr. Trump talking about these false claims of the election. Do you remember that discussion?
Yes.
And during our hour, we talked a lot about the knowledge that Mr. Trump had, one, that he had lost the 2020 election, and two, that what he was saying to the American public was false about the 2020 election. Can you help now bring us full circle on how you analyze the First Amendment claims with the knowledge of the fraud that Mr. Trump was putting out to the American public in 2020 and 2021?
Sure. From a legal perspective, this is really quite clear. I think all of us want to make sure people's First Amendment rights are not abridged in a way that they shouldn't be. I think I certainly feel that way. I'm sure everybody in this room feels that way. But there is a very clear carve-out for fraud in our case law. The Supreme Court, I think there's one case, is the Stevens case, talks about that, and there are others. And so when you're committing a fraud, meaning you're not just saying something that's untrue, you're saying it knowing it's untrue or with reckless disregard for the truth, that's not protected by the First Amendment. People commit crimes all the time using words. And when someone commits a fraud, an investment fraud, or someone commits an affinity fraud where you try to gain someone's trust, get them to trust you as a general matter, and then you rip them off, you defraud them. That's all words, but it's not protected by the First Amendment. And in a lot of ways, this case was an affinity fraud. The president had people who had built up trust in him, including people in his own party, and he preyed on that. Some people wouldn't.
That will go off the record at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time.
I understand, Mr. Smith, you wanted to make some additional comments about the exchange you had regarding your communications with the payday, Marshall Miller.
Yes, thank you. Chairman Jordan didn't ask me this directly, but I just wanted to make sure it was clear on the record. In the series of conversations that I had with Marshall Miller before I accepted the position of special counsel, previous to discussing the idea of working on any of these investigations, he did bring up the idea of me working on another case before that. So that happened, and I ultimately declined to work on that case, and then the other conversations happened after that. So I just wanted to put that on the record.
Okay.
Another case not related to?
Not related, correct.
At that point, were you ready to seek a new opportunity? You know, you had been in The Hague for some time. Were you looking for an opportunity to come back to the United States?
I really loved my work in The Hague, but for family reasons, if the right opportunity happened, I wasn't desperate to come back, but if the right opportunity happened, I was willing to do that. That's one of the reasons I spoke to Mr. Miller.
Okay. At the end of the last round, I asked you whether you had any communications with the Michigan Attorney General, Dana Nessel, and you said you did not.
Yeah, I don't recall any.
And to the best of your knowledge, you don't believe anyone on your staff was having communications with the Michigan Attorney General's office?
Well, what I thought I said was I don't recall that. It may be that we got inquiries from them. That may be possible, and it may be we responded to those inquiries. I don't recall sharing information with them or getting information from them.
But to the extent there's an allegation made that your office was coordinating with state attorney general's offices to have prosecutions go on, and different prosecutions happen in the states, would you say that that did not happen and that would be false if somebody made that allegation?
We were not trying to coordinate prosecutions with other offices, no.
Okay, and you were not trying to encourage prosecutions at the state level?
No, I don't recall anything like that.
Okay. And so the same can be said with the Attorney General for the state of Wisconsin, Josh Call.
Hi, Josh.
Did you have any communications with him?
I've never spoken to Josh Call.
Okay.
Again, we may have got inquiries from their office, and it could be by phone or by a letter. I can't say that didn't happen.
Okay. And to the best of your knowledge, your staff did not have a regular set of communications with the Wisconsin Attorney General's office?
I don't know about regular. If there were requests or if there were people who reached out to us, we may have spoken to them back. I don't recall with much specificity anything about that. We definitely were not trying to coordinate a case with them.
Okay. And can the same be said for the Attorney General for Nevada, Aaron Ford?
I don't even know that name, Aaron Ford. Again, I just want to be clear. This subject you're asking me about interactions with State Attorney General's office, this was not a focus of mine. As the special counsel, I was focused on our cases, our investigations, and our case and what we were doing in court in our investigations. This is the sort of thing that other people in my office would have dealt with, and so I'm probably not your best witness in terms of the level of interaction or witnesses, but I don't recall sharing evidence with those offices.
But if your office did have meaningful coordination with the state attorney generals, you probably would know about it. Is that fair?
Meaningful coordination, I don't know what that term means, but like I said,
Okay, what he's asking about, what the guy is questioning him about, is his interactions with people like Letitia James and Alvin Bragg and probably Fonnie Willis, all the state's prosecutors that were, or county or district prosecutor, federal prosecutors that were looking to bring other cases around, like stolen, like the Michigan case on the fake elector scheme, like all the other cases that are involved, Arizona's fake electors, all the Trump, all the things that Trump was embroiled in. They're really trying to put him on the spot. I don't know if this is, I think this might be a GOP questioner because of the nature of the questions, but I think that what they're trying to do is put him on the spot to say, weren't you colluding with states, attorneys general, et cetera, to dee-da-ba-da-boo? And I think he's basically saying there probably is typical coordination of cases and scheduling, but you know, that this is not a collusion, that it's all standard procedure. Because one of the big complaints from the GOP was that it is terrible that President Dump, even though he committed crimes in multiple crimes in multiple jurisdictions, he should not have to face trial for all of those all at once. I don't care if we just got all the evidence. They really don't want to they want to make excuses that this president shouldn't be under so many indictments in so many locations all at once. Well, my advice is don't crime. Then don't crime in all those locations over so many years and all at once. Sorry. Anyway, yeah, Dem counsel tends to sit in camera frame. I know. Dem counsel. Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's interesting, huh? Interesting. All right, here we go. Sorry, I'm on. Be quiet now.
I'm trying to be as specific as I can, limited by my memory. I don't recall us sharing information or sharing our files with Attorney General's offices. I don't recall them giving us their files, things of that nature. Beyond that, the
sorry, one more thing I just thought of. To your question, Jack is a smart cookie. How did they get around him? Well, first of all, I think that, I don't know. There was an interesting thread from, what's his name? Beschloss? Is it Stephen Beschloss? Hold on, let me find, because this is interesting. No, la la la. Okay, let me find. I think it's Beschloss. I think it's Stephen. On Merrick. He had a little bit of a spicy post about Merrick Garland. Oh, what was this? December 31st. Well, he's always been a... But he, Stephen Beschloss, is really upset with Merrick Garland. I won't go into it. He's done other things. But he's like saying Merrick Garland dragged his feet. And I don't know. I don't think we really know, Jim, how this didn't get any further than it did. I recall that it was a lot of judicial interference, right? So there was the Cannon thing. That was a complete fuck nugget. Kim Thompson. Hello, my darling Kim. How are you? It's good to see you. Very good to see you. So I know that, wait, what was I saying? So he's a mobile crime scene. Yeah, exactly. He's a very, very busy little boy. So I think there was a lot of judicial interference. I think that Dump's team did the usual delays. I think that hurt. I do think that this Justice Department really, that Justice Department rather, was too concerned with optics and too concerned with, because, according to Jack Smith sitting here in this moment, he says, I had enough evidence to get a conviction. And I don't think prosecutors say that unless they're pretty sure. And I think he has a little more gravitas. He's not like a Michael Avenatti or someone like that, He was out there kind of being an asshole. He's pretty proper and prim. And I think that he did his work. And I think that there was just a lot of, pussyfooting around, frankly. I don't know. I mean, that's my most innocent. That's my most innocent assessment of what happened, but I could be wrong. Anyway, okay, but that's my 2 cents.
Number of times an office may have reached out to us and how we replied to that, I really don't have a recollection of those sort of subjects. I'm trying to be as clear as I can.
Fair enough. How about with outside Democratic lawyers such as Norm Eisen? Did you have any communications with Norm Eisen
No.
during the pendency of your investigation? Do you know if anyone on your staff did?
I don't know of anybody having such a communication, no.
Okay. And how about with Mark Elias? He is a election
He's
law
definitely a GOP
attorney
questioner.
for Democrats.
No, I've never met him.
Okay. And to the best of your knowledge, your staff wasn't communicating with Mr. Elias?
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
that all the lawyers who have a name out in public
Same
know
question.
each other?
A gentlelady by the name of Mary McCord.
Mary McCord, I do know. I didn't know her well, but I knew her from when I had brief interactions with her. She was, I think, at the U.S. Attorney's Office in Washington, D.C., while I was the Chief of Public Integrity. I don't recall having any interactions with her during the pendency of the investigations. At the conclusion of the investigations, one of my lawyers went to work at her project at Georgetown, and I did speak to her about that.
Okay. And what is her project at Georgetown?
It's some sort of clinic at Georgetown University. As I sit here right now, I don't know the specifics.
But you didn't have any discussions with her about the facts of the case?
No, my recollection, that may have been the first time her and I had ever actually had a conversation, her and I talking to each other.
Okay.
But we definitely didn't talk about the case while it was being prosecuted and investigated.
We've discussed, both sides, I think, have, raised the fact that President Trump was, he's being prosecuted by a lot of different tribunals at the same time. I mean, he had the District Attorney of New York, he had a civil case with the Attorney General for the state of New York. He had two federal cases. And, I had asked you about how you managed the calendar and the calendar with President Trump. I mean, there were times when he was required to be in New York 3 or 4 days of the week, and then he had to be in Florida for, I think we discussed at the end of our last round, for a pretrial motion hearing. And it just seems that at every instance when President Trump and his lawyers requested a little bit of a delay because of the cases they're defending, your office was not willing to indulge that request.
It is correct that we were not willing to indulge delays that we thought were inappropriate. I will.
Wait, do you think there's a secret? Kim, do you think there's a secret indictment, like a pocket indictment? What do they call those? What do they call those? Do you think that's what it is? I mean, I would imagine that he doesn't, I mean, obviously, I don't think he wants to, obviously, I don't think he wants to undermine anything, but I don't think he wants to inadvertently undermine any other case. Is that what it is? I'm really interesting. Note questioning counsel so much more careful and civil in offering questions than GOP reps. That's the lawyer. That's that lawyer for the Judiciary Committee. I can see his little stupid face. It's the lawyer for the Judiciary Committee. He's still a dick, but yeah, he might be a little nicer about it. Cannon has it sealed. Okay. So maybe that's, yeah, I believe he has proof that Trump sold secrets, but it's under indictment. I really hope so, Kim. I really do. Yeah, Audrey, me too. The docket stuff is classified, so he can't testify, which I understand, and I knew that, but I guess he realizes there's still a chance that I guess. I know he's professional. Yeah.
Add, and this is in the litigation, there were numerous instances where judges chided counsel for President Trump for trying to delay things. I'm thinking, as I'm saying it now, I'm thinking specifically of the executive privilege litigation that we had. This is referenced in our final report of him attempting to delay things. And so we agreed to dates that we thought were appropriate. All of that, as far as I'm concerned, was very public and transparent. What the dates were and the arguments to the judges about those dates were clear, and I thought they were fair and reasonable.
Even against the backdrop that he was being tried by the District Attorney of New York, and even against the backdrop that he was involved in a high stakes proceeding with the New York Attorney General?
Yes.
For example, at the time you proposed the DC schedule, you were also aware that Georgia prosecutors had proposed motions hearings, essentially during the same time period. If President Trump's lawyers had requested a delay for that, would you have indulged that? Or did you indulge that if they did ask for it?
I don't recall if they asked for a delay, and to consider whether I would indulge that, I would have to be back in that moment and look at the facts as they existed at that time. I don't recall that as I sit here now.
President Trump complained that he was treated unfairly with respect to access to the classified information that was at the heart of the Florida case, that he wasn't able to review the materials at the heart of the trial because of restrictions imposed by the government that required him to only review the materials, on your turf. Is that something that your office did intentionally?
I think this may be one of those subjects that may be in the final report in Florida, so I don't think I can get into that.
Okay.
I'm not sure it is, but it may be, and I just want to exercise caution.
So I have some questions along this line. If that's going to be your answer, I understand that. So I'll just...
If you can point to a public filing where this has been discussed, I'm happy to comment on the subject in the public filing, because I think my understanding is it's pretty clear that I'm allowed to discuss public filings. And so if there is a public filing you're aware of, I'm happy to address that to the extent I can recall it.
Okay.
I want to answer your questions as much as I can. I just don't want to run afoul of this injunction.
The heart of the question is, he had a skiff at Mar-a-Lago that was decommissioned when he was no longer president. But during the pendency of the case, it would have been relatively easy for him to get that skiff at Mar-a-Lago back up and running. He indicates that your office blocked that and required him to only look at the classified documents, only talk with his attorneys about the content of the classified documents in a DOJ scheme.
So,
and that puts us, a remarkable burden on him, especially given all the other cases that he was defending.
okay, so if there is a public filing about this, I am happy to discuss this with you. I just want to make sure that there's a public filing, so I'm not running afoul of anything in the injunction.
See if we can get it quickly.
Sure,
If not,
of course.
maybe we'll move on.
Yeah, and then we can come
Cheryl,
back.
sit down.
After the immunity determination at the Supreme Court was decided in July of 2024, you filed
what the
a
skiff at
remarkably
Mar-a-Lago
long
was, the bathroom?
brief in September of 2024. I think it was like 165 pages, and the brief was very, very unusual in terms of length and content. What can you tell us about your decision to proceed with that type of meaty brief? It's almost as if you were writing your special counsel report in that brief.
Sure. As an initial matter,
Well, that sounds
I
like a
think the
feeling.
vast amount of the factual material in that brief was not new. It was just put in there to address the issues at hand. The context of this is we received this immunity decision. The immunity decision affected not only the indictment, it affected the evidence we could use at trial. And so for there to be a litigation of this, the defense would have to know the evidence at trial. We would have to say, this is the indictment, and here's the other evidence that we're going to use at trial, in summary at least. We all understood, at least certainly I did, that this case was going to go up to the Supreme Court at least one more time for an interpretation of a lot of the questions that the Supreme Court left open, which we addressed in the final report. Our goal was to have that be one time, and to have the evidence and the indictment get rulings from the court. If the defense didn't like them, they would get to appeal them. That would go up to the Supreme Court. We get a final understanding, and then we'd be back before the court to try the case. And so to do that in one trip as opposed to multiple trips, and multiple trips could mean years in terms of how long it would take to try a case, that required us to go first to, in essence, put this there. And I said this earlier in the day to you, one of the challenges.
Okay, just for Teresa, thank you for asking. I am reading from the 18 U.S. Code, Chapter 37, and espionage and censorship. Oh, maybe, sorry, no, Section 21 U.S. Code 2403. One of those adult. 2403, criminal penalties and statute of limitations. For federal espionage under the Espionage Act, under 18 U.S. Code 793, 794, there is generally no statute of limitations if the offense involves capital crimes like treason, allowing prosecution at any time. But other variations typically have a 10-year limit, though this can be extended if evidence is abroad or for specific economic espionage offenses under the Economic Espionage Act. The complexity lies in the specific statute, but major national security espionage often falls outside time limits, while economic espionage may have shorter periods. Okay. Thank you. That's an excellent question.
In this case is we had, in my view, a very strong case with a lot of evidence, and trying to condense that into a brief at that stage where we were not going to be precluded from offering things that we thought were important,
I think
that
Stanley
could
Cups
possibly
have,
be
iron
relevant
or,
to any
lead
of the
in them
immunity
or
issues,
something, right?
but also have a fulsome brief. That's what we filed. It was my
use a
judgment
very
that was
large
what was
insulated
necessary.
mug.
And I think, again, if you look at that brief, the vast majority of factual information in that brief had been in the public or something close to it in the past.
Required you to go first, or you chose to go first? Because the normal case is my understanding, you filed a superseding indictment. Defense is going to
Hello,
make some motion,
DIY
they're going to
driver.
have some
Happy New
reaction
Year,
to that.
darling,
Then
darling,
you
dear
would
darling.
But you flipped it.
Well, because in this particular case, we had the opinion that caused us to supersede the indictment. The court said not only what's in the indictment, but the evidence too. And there had never been a point at that point where we had put on the table, here's all the evidence that might be related to immunity. And so we needed to do that. Otherwise, the defense couldn't respond to it. What would have happened would be we file a brief of our trial evidence, or of our indictment. They say no or not. Then that goes all the way up to the Supreme Court. Then we come back from the Supreme Court. Now we're going to do a second year.
Doesn't change the question, Mr. Smith.
I'm
Was it
sorry.
required, or did you choose it?
I believe that was the most appropriate way to go forward, yes.
It's not my question. Was it required, or did you choose to go that route?
Oh, I chose it.
Okay.
But I'm sorry that I wanted to explain the reasons why I chose it.
And did you have to file a motion with the judge for leave to offer that type of filing?
We had a status conference with the judge shortly after the return of the superseding indictment, and we proposed, my choice, that sequence, but we left it to the judge to decide the timing of that sequence, of when our brief would be due.
And what was the timing of that sequence, to the extent you can recall?
I'm happy to venture a guess, but there's a public record of this. I want to say it was 2 to 3 weeks we were given to write our brief, but trust the record instead of my memory on that.
And so the brief was filed right at the beginning of October, I think, or the end of September?
Whatever the record shows.
And the election was just weeks away, correct?
The election was November 3rd.
That's
Yes.
a win, Mr. Spock. Buy
Did
a
you have
lottery
any
ticket.
communications amongst your staff that this presented potentially a problem with the Justice Department's election year sensitivities
Yeah,
guidelines?
that's the key.
So
I just needed to stay hot.
When we got the immunity decision, we had a series of decisions to make. The first was to look at our evidence and see, do we still have a case here? Do we still have admissible evidence that would allow us to proceed to trial? So that's what we did first. Once we determined that we did have that evidence, the next thing we determined is, do we need to supersede the indictment? And because there was evidence before the grand jury that the Supreme Court had clearly said was immune, we determined that we needed to supersede the indictment. And I'm sorry I'm being long, but I think the context will help. Once we determined that, we had to make sure that our conduct in going forward with an indictment and everything after complied with the election year sensitivities policy. And to do that, we consulted with Public Integrity on drafts of the indictment, on our plan forward, and as we set forth in the...
Have you ever had a boss that makes you step through everything you did looking for a gotcha, and you literally in your mind, it's like you're going to lose the next however many minutes it's going to take for you to explain to your boss how it is what you did. And you know how that feels? It's almost like you go into a trance and you just go, okay, I'm going to just repeat. I'm going to pull from my head everything I did in this case, and I'm going to just recite it. But it's almost like your brain turns off for a minute. You know, like, I feel like that's where Jack might be right now, is like, okay, I know you're just trying to catch me, but I'm going to fucking make you go through it. Yeah, I did every single fucking step I was supposed to. Go fuck yourself. That's what I would say. But of course, that's why I don't have the job.
In the final report, Ping concurred that we had complied with that policy. And I would just add that policy does not stop prosecutors from trying their cases in court.
Okay. Did you or anyone in your office discuss the potential political or electoral impact of publicly filing that amount of information, just with the election a month out?
My focus was on making sure we complied with the election year sensitivities policy, which is the way the department addresses those issues.
Okay. And so, the whole purpose behind the policy is not to interfere with elections, right?
You
Correct.
Put your thumb out?
And so,
Oh, I can't remember.
the way the policy is written, I guess, is that as long as you have filed your case and as long as you're already in court, then there's no limitations on the types of court filings you can make. Is that right?
Well, I will say, and as you know, I was the chief of public integrity. Historically, I don't recall any cases where it ever applied to anything. It was really about investigative stage steps, doing a search warrant or taking investigative steps before an election.
Oh my God.
But this is one of those issues where this is why you consult with public integrity, because they're now the keepers of that policy.
Right.
And so we consulted with them about the path we took, and they agreed that what we ended up doing did comply with the rules.
After you left public integrity, there was a February
Yeah, very good.
2020 memo from Attorney General Barr and Attorney General Garland, in effect re-upped Barr's memo with his own election sensitivities
Yeah.
memo. I think he incorporated it by reference, in
Yeah.
fact. And this is against the backdrop that a lot of what happened during the 2016 election caused a lot of concern that what happened at FBI, what happened with both the Crossfire Hurricane investigation and the mid-year exam investigation, may have affected the outcome of the.
See, this is one of those little details that I think is important. So what Dick Face is bringing up is Crossfire Hurricane, which is the claim that somehow the Russians didn't collude with the campaigns, and that Paul Manafort, there's nothing to see here, right? And what's his name? Rick Gates went to jail for a whole lot of nothing, nothing to see here kind of thing. This is why they think that they want to portray the Mueller investigation as if it was tainted and wrong and incomplete or whatever it is. That's just not true. And this is where where MAGA wins a lot of the time, is that no one has the attention span to, and media will not support digesting the Mueller report parts that are imperative to dispel the myth that the Russians had nothing to do and that Crossfire Hurricane was a big old nothing burger. And, never mind. Paul Manafort was just getting a borscht recipe. What are you talking about? And Michael Flynn talking to Lavrov, get off of that. They just like each other and they trade Pokemon cards. This is like... they're trying to spin this web of, and they've done a great job of it, because here we are, of nothing to see here, nothing to see here, blah, 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 blah. Oh, that's just a coinkydink, kind of stuff. And George Papadopoulos, never mind the Australian consulate employee that heard him talk about colluding with Russians. Never mind that, stop. This is why I harp on media literacy and the fact that disinformation is a key driver of how we got here. It is not the reason we got here, but it is a key driver of how we got here. It is a mechanism by which we got here, and it continues to plague us. And this is why I get so fucking pissed off when I hear dumb shits on the internet try and explain why something's happening when they don't have the first fucking clue as to why it's happening. I don't think I have a clue as to why it's happening, but I sure as shit have more information than they do. So, yeah. So they want to taint every investigation as if it's weaponized. Mueller wasn't weaponized. Nothing has been weaponized against the Republican Party. Period. Full stop. You know what's weaponized? This is weaponized. This right here is weaponization of government. That's what this is. Everything that is being done, the Letitia James, push to 3 times trying to indict her. Failed. 3 times. Yeah, the Senate Intel report chaired by Rubio that concurred with the Russian interference. The fact that the fake Hunter Biden laptop story, yeah, weaponize is not a good word, but at the same time, this is a kangaroo court. Letitia James is a kangaroo court. They've tried 3 times to indict her and they haven't been able to. Come on now, that's a waste of taxpayer money. And here's my advice to people like Jack Talcott and others who want to change the world. Start with the money. Start by organizing around bringing down Citizens United. Go after the fact that AIPAC should not be funding, and influencing our foreign policy. Go after the money first, because I'll bet you that you can get people on the right and the left to agree that money in politics is a problem. So there you go, Jack. Let me help you. I'll give you a direction. Focus on the money. Focus on the money. Start getting those incels excited about fighting the government and fighting Citizens United and fighting PACs. How about that? Make some fucking noise about it. You're welcome. Vindictive prosecution. Thank you. That's a much better. Much better. And it's failing, okay? And they're losing in court. And that is the key. The key to the dump regime and this thing, and the reason Peter Thiel is just so happy, is dump keeps everybody in court and everybody spinning wheels in court while all the rest of the shit can come down. And all the other shit can be built up. Like the turbines and shit outside of Memphis at the XAI Grok facility that are killing people in poor parts of Memphis suburbs. And probably creating the next PG&E scandal a la Aaron Brockovich, okay? But I know, but the thing is you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, too. I ran organizations for a few years, so I think I know something about running, larger things. And one of the things I would do is I would never throw out the baby with the bathwater. That's like a fucking really big problem. What you do is take the parts that work and capitalize on them. You don't destroy it and then build it back up again, because that's stupid and we don't have time. But what you do is dismantle and rebuild with people who are impacted by the thing at the center of designing what the rebuilt thing looks like. Human-centered design. I'm going to keep talking about it. So, anyway. Politics are for suckers. Have a set of logical rules that never change. But see, logical is a qualitative word. Logical is different depending on who you're talking to. And while terribly flawed, our system of government actually really does a pretty good job. definitely needs work. I'm not saying that it doesn't, but I'm telling you right now, start with the money. Start with the money. Get money out of politics. Get money out of politics. Period. Okay. Anyway. Did not know. Must check it out. My family is Sicilian. Yeah, Manafort's family. Did you ever read about... Oh, well, I've read a bit about them. They were the mafia, so between Boston, Whitey Bulger, and New York City. Really? Oh, I didn't know that. I was just in an leverage core competencies. You know, politics is meaningless. I don't know. It's fine. Call it whatever you want. Okay, we have a system. We have influence. We need to help people. That's why media literacy is so important. That's why disinformation and the elimination of disinformation, or at least the kind of the labeling of disinformation, or the labeling of opinion versus fact, not truth, because truth is also subjective. My truth is different than your truth. But truth is qualitative. I know I'm being problematic, and I'm being like contentious. I don't mean to be contentious, but I'm just saying like that this is something that I feel like I get it. Like I get that truth. I used to think truth was more, objective, but it's not. Truth feels very subjective right now. Facts, less subjective. Facts are pretty objective. And so I focus on like, the system is but what parts of the system? Like, be fucking specific. Like, that's all I'm asking. All I'm asking is someone who actually implemented change in an organization. All I'm asking is for some process. That's what I'm asking for. I'm asking for some conversation. Like, I would like to hear from experts in the field. And then I would like to hear from people that the program is impacted by. Yeah, I agree. No, fair and equal, you're totally right, Mr. Spock. You're right. The whole thing. You're absolutely right. We don't disagree. People are not educated. I mean, it's just hard to keep up, too. So, yeah. Jim and Lisa, scary the mobsters in Cleveland. I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, it's greed. It's greed and control. Greed and control are really, really fucking powerful. Yeah, on shared reality. I know. See, and that's why disinformation was such a very, very effective weapon against harmony. Disinformation is such an effective weapon against harmony that then you end up on two different planes of facts. Right? When the facts that I say aren't facts that are acceptable to this other person, we're kind of at an impasse. I don't know how we get out of it. I just like to complain about it. That's all. You know how I am. I'm hoping we fix it. I fix it. That's so stupid. Capitalism is totally flawed. Okay, so absolutely. I'm gonna be honest with you, Mr. Spock. I think we agree on a lot of change that needs to happen. I'm not saying that the baby is all over the bathwater. I'm saying there's a lot of bathwater that we need to throw out. We need to throw out a lot of bathwater. But I'm going to tell you right now, I would caution against burning it all down. I would take the parts that serve people, serve humanity, and use that infrastructure to then build what you want. That's what I would do. Because otherwise you have significant disruption that may not hit people at higher socioeconomic levels, but is absolutely going to decimate people at lower socioeconomic levels. And that's why I think it's better to involve the people who are, go have a process to go through and like Doggy could have been something really good if you looked at a very comprehensive evaluation of a program using all the available data. You know what I mean? The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. Absolutely. But that's not the few. We're not talking about the few, Mr. Spock. The people at the lower socioeconomic level that would be impacted by burning it all down is most of us. It's not a small portion of the world. So that's why I'm saying I'm all for change. I totally am. What is utilitarianism? does not lead to equality. What does that mean? What does that mean? So anyway, I don't know. I hope you don't think I'm arguing, because I'm not. I think it's an interesting conversation and something to have. And I actually am excited to learn what people who are better versed in significant systems change. I look to those people to say, talk to me about, tell me how this works, and I'm all for it. And if there's a role I can play, I'm down. I'm down to clown. So yeah, or is it 3 pen? 3 shirt, 3 pen. It's all of it. It actually comes in threes with Steve Bannon. It is the money, yeah. And the idea of representation works, but needs to truly represent, right? The pres needs to understand that she is the actual chief representative and not in charge of the people. And I think there could be a flatter, reduction of hierarchy. I always complained about the Department of Education in New York City, that it was absolutely the most bureaucratic, shittily run. Utilitarianism is the system of ethics summed up by the principle, the good of the many outweighs the good of the few. Oh, okay. Got it. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. That makes sense. It's the basis of so-called liberalism. Ah, okay. Oh, okay. That kind of makes sense. Actually, that kind of makes sense. Yeah, okay. I like Slump's nickname for him, Sloppy Steve. Sloppy Steve. Anyway. Oh, there's just, and you know what? This is what here's what the good thing is. The game is this. The game is there are so many moving parts. It's hard for humans to kind of keep track of the moving parts. I'm sorry. I diverted us all the way. Every anarchist community I've been a part of has internal politics. See, here's the thing, and humans are human, no matter the shape, size, or whatever, right? Or ideological bent. Humans are still very human. And people and power and greed, even on smaller scales, is a force that happens in any group activity, right? Like there's always some positioning, or there's some this, or there's some that, or you may not choose to participate, but there's always some kind of push and pull within an organized group. Which is why I'm very much not a part of any group, because I don't function well within groups. I spent 35 years being part of groups when I was in working and, doing things, and I don't want to do that anymore. Which is why now, as an old lady, I want to be more independent and do and handle myself and understand what I'm doing and be helpful. So anyway, okay. So I don't want to be labeled. I just don't, because I don't understand all the labels. So I can't begin to start, whatever, except for the incel thing. I think I got a pretty good handle on that. Okay, bye.
2016 election, correct?
I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm not sure I followed that closely.
Okay. You're aware of the concerns of the Justice Department, in the fallout of the Crossfire Hurricane investigation.
I don't think the election year sensitivities policy was born out of that. I think it's existed for a long time and in kind of the same format for a long time. And I know the last person to sort of restate it was Attorney General Garland, who I think did it shortly before I was appointed, if my recollection is correct.
But he incorporated by reference, Attorney General Barr's memo.
I have
from
high
2020.
hopes for
And
Mom
Attorney
Donnie.
General Barr,
I wish him all the best.
his memo
I cannot
was in
wait
the fall,
to see
was in the
what
wake
he
of
does.
everything that happened with the Steele dossier, what happened with Crossfire Hurricane, and so forth. And so the question is, your 165-page brief a month out from the election, it seems from an outsider's perspective that runs the risk of impacting the outcome of the election.
Yeah, we certainly were not in any way intending to affect the outcome of the election. And to make sure we complied with the policy, we met with Public Integrity to make sure we were doing that. They agreed, and they're the ones who enforced that policy. And so I felt comfortable taking the course that we did going forward.
Did your office ever consider some of the things that happened to President Trump, in the 2016 election with the Steele dossier, with using the Steele dossier to get FISA warrants? Did you ever discuss any of that as background that we need to be careful here with President Trump, that we don't, repeat some of the things the Justice Department went afoul of in 2016?
I don't recall ever discussing the Steele dossier or anything like that with my staff. I don't recall that.
And, I know Justice Department officials often like to say that, hey, everyone at the Justice Department is nonpartisan, apolitical, they check their politics at the door. And I think you would say that is the case with everybody on your team, correct?
I would say that has been my experience in the Justice Department through both Democratic and Republican administrations. I've worked in the department through both, and that has been my experience.
And, we learned in the fallout of the 2016, the events of the 2016 timeframe, that, there's Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, and, I think we can all agree they were not apolitical and nonpartisan. They were, very clearly, as their text.
Maybe no, we can't all agree. Maybe the DOJ actually had to settle with Lisa Page and Peter Strzok. Okay, I'm going to stop it. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to keep stopping it. But I'm going to tell you right now. No, they haven't brought up Arctic Storm. They've just brought up Crossfire Hurricane, Kim. They're owners under Marxist communism, not what the Soviet Union was. Oh, yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I studied a little bit of the beginning of the Soviet Union because I studied Russian in college. And and my limited knowledge of the conversion to communism, etc., was that all the best intentions are wonderful, except for the fact that humans get in the way of some of those things. And to me, the rise of the Soviet Union felt very much like power, control, power and control. Yeah. Chat is as silly a place to have a conversation as shit. I know, but it's fun. It's fun. We're talking and we're learning. Actually, yeah, I will say this. The chat teaches me stuff. I learn stuff and I think about things differently, because of chat. So I'll just say that. But yeah, Boga Niet. That's right. But Lisa Page and Peter Strzok. Thank you for bringing me back, Neil. They're being fired from the FBI or where were they? Were they at the FBI? I think they were. I don't know. Anyway, the DOJ had to pay them money because they lost in court. They had to pay them money. They had to settle with them. Okay? So that's really, really... This is a lie. This is a lie. So and again, listen for the feelings, words versus the facts. I just find that so obvious with these guys. What are your, describing, wouldn't you say that Lisa Page and Peter Strzok were bad people for saying that? That's a feeling. That's not a fact. I don't care what Jack Smith feels about something. Okay, that's what I'm like. Facts, feelings. It's pretty easy to do. Where's the cat videos? I know, my weed is not working. I love you, Mr. Spock. Thank you for a good conversation. That's what I like. I love this type of conversation. I feel like I learn from it. Facts are certainly better than feelings if you're going to make some decisions, right? It probably is better to stick with some facts first, maybe.
Message traffic, bears out. They were, very interested in preventing President Trump from becoming president. Is that something that you were aware of?
I was aware factually of that,
right.
Yes.
And can you agree that, as the text message traffic bears out, those two officials were not, nonpartisan and apolitical?
Feeling.
Well, I certainly agreed with Director Mueller's choice to move them off the team once he discovered those. Absolutely.
Okay. And did you ever have any discussions with your senior management to make sure that your team wasn't infected by any of those types of issues?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And can you tell us about that?
So I made it clear from the day that I began at the special counsel's office, this was going to be a nonpartisan investigation. This was not, the politics would play no role in it. I think everybody in my office agreed to that. I can tell you of one incident where we were reviewing the email chains of agents who might be witnesses in the case for Jiggly review. And we needed them to give us all their emails. An FBI agent who was working on the case took that direction and actually provided us with his private emails with his family. We didn't ask for that, but he gave us his private emails. In one of those emails, and I can't remember if I saw this or my deputies saw this, he was having a dispute with family members where it was about January 6th. Once I saw that or heard about that, I decided he could no longer work on this investigation. And I think that was consistent with how I ran the office. And I want to also be clear, I never saw that agent do anything that I considered partisan. But just to make 100% clear to my staff, and this is an agent who volunteered this beyond what was required. I wanted to make it very clear that anything like that was not going to be part of our investigation.
The 165-page brief that you filed at the beginning of October, was there any consideration of maybe filing it under seal, at least until the election was over?
Well,
obviously, you have to go to the court and all parties would have to agree, but certainly if all parties agreed, the judge would be amenable.
I feel like this came up in the status
Keanu.
conference
Hell
that we had. I can't
yes.
recall. What I can
Yes.
recall, though, now that you're reminding me, is
Jack Black would be funny.
there
but I
was
don't
an issue, and this is referenced in our final report, where we filed our brief. They were given time to file their brief. They wanted more time, which would put their brief after the election.
Or they're going to do George
We
Clooney.
had
It's going
our
to be bad.
exhibits, which
Whatever
were
it is,
really
the
the evidence,
casting's gonna
that we
suck.
were citing. That evidence, they made a motion that evidence, the key facts, should be filed under seal. And they, before filing their motion, usually the practice is to ask opposing counsel what's your position about this. But they filed their motion before they could get our position, and so we contacted the court. And we said that we had no objection to that evidence being filed under seal if the court agreed. Now, the court ultimately did not agree, and so this is
Jake
referenced in the
Gyllenhaal would do
footnote in our
that,
report. I
actually.
think that is pretty direct evidence that we were not seeking to put the maximum amount of facts in the public record,
He
that we
could
were happy to
transform
have that be under
body-wise, too,
seal,
for
and
it. He
even
would do
after
that.
the election,
Like,
if that's
he's
what the
really
court
good at
agreed.
that.
Okay, but you could have
And
sought
Bobo met him on the set of
permission to
Spider-Man,
file
and he
that
was really nice.
big brief
So Jake Gyllenhaal,
under
you're
seal,
very
right?
nice to the crew on the set of your movies.
I
Thank you
suppose
so
we
much.
could have, and again, this is where my memory is escaping me. I feel like this issue was possibly discussed with the court, and I think the record of what any briefing on this or what the court said will be better than my memory about this.
Okay. Did you think it was important that that evidence be in the public realm before the election? So, people could make up their mind about who they were going to vote for?
No, I did not see it as our role to provide evidence for people to make their voting decisions on. Yeah, if I could, the final report on page 107, footnote 258. On the 17th of October, Mr. Trump filed a motion to delay public disclosure of our appendix to the brief, meaning the actual evidence.
say that page again?
Yeah, sure. It's 107. I'll let you get to it. 107,
Oh, I'm
footnote
sorry.
258.
Questioning counsel didn't do his fucking
They filed a
homework
motion to
about what
delay
is
the appendix,
facts of the
meaning the
case?
evidence, until after he filed his own appendix, which would have been November 14th, well after the election.
Yeah.
So that both appendixes will be released simultaneously after the election. He filed that motion before obtaining our position, so we emailed the court's chambers, copying defense, informing the court that we did not object to that procedure, meaning
Okay.
we did not object to our evidence being, in essence, embargoed from the public until after the election. So
Okay.
I think that's pretty strong evidence that we were not trying to have an effect on the
Notwithstanding the
election.
fact that it's a 165-page brief that you said.
So go fuck
It
yourself.
was.
I'll add
And that's,
that.
in my understanding, that's, first of all, you choose to do it. 165 pages. I think it's 4 times the size of the normal briefs that are supposed to happen with these type of motions. And I believe the judge said this was not typical. Is that right?
Yes, but
Judge Juckin said it was not typical.
she used a word like that, but I would just say when you say these type of motions, I think filing a brief after an immunity decision is not a common issue, and having to have a new evidentiary issue added to the mix in addition to the immunity issue, I don't think this is...
Is there any new evidence in the 165-page brief?
I'm sure there was, but as I said, my recollection is the majority of the evidence was already public. The brief emphasized how we could prove our case using evidence of his role as a candidate, as opposed to evidence that might otherwise be precluded by the official act. So, for example, a thing in the brief would be that at least 2 of the White House staff members who would have been witnesses, that they'd also were also working on the campaign. And so, not a particularly important fact in the world, but important for our particular brief. So there were facts like that and others that were new that were in the brief.
I just want to summarize those, but you choose to do this, not required. You go out of the normal order, so that's different. It's 4 times the size of the brief that the court wants you to file, 45 pages, and you do 165 pages. The judge herself said it was atypical. You introduced new evidence that is public, and you did this 32 days before the election. And Public Integrity said, just fine.
They agreed that our course was consistent and in compliance with the election year
Same Public
sensitivities policy.
Integrity said that all the toll analysis was just fine. Okay. Thanks.
Were you, during the pendency of the investigation, were you aware that at the Capitol on January 6th, FBI had confidential human sources?
I'm sure I probably was. I think there was public reporting on that.
But did you know that also as part of your work?
I'm sure, yeah.
Okay. And do you know how many there were?
As I sit here now, I can't recall. I know there was an Office of Inspector General report about this, that there were no undercover officers there, as had been reported, but there were informants there, some who had gone on their own.
And
Yeah, you know the
Did your
evidence
office
that it wasn't a
oppose,
bunch of FBI agents at
President
January
Trump's
6th,
discovery request
fucking
for
idiot.
information relating to the confidential human sources?
I would have to look at our filings on that.
Okay. As we understand it, your office did oppose that and said any such information is not relevant to the charged conduct or as a valid defense in the case. And so consequently, you were not in favor of that. Does that ring any, refresh your recollection at all?
I'm not disputing.
He's talking about that the Trump team asked for the names of the confidential informants that the FBI had on the ground on January 6th, and Jack's team refused, understandably, to release those names. Now, why in the world would Dump need the names of confidential informants that were on the ground for January 6th? Why? Why? Like, it is just so obvious to me that this line of questioning is trying to cover illegal actions of the Dump administration. And I don't understand, or the campaign. I do not understand how we got to a place where in a congressional hearing, a staff counsel to the committee can ask, why wouldn't you, prosecutor, release the names of confidential informants from another event who have never met your target of your investigation? Okay? Why would the target of your investigation be entitled to have the names of confidential informants who are not informing on him, by the way? They're informing on what's happening on the ground on January 6th. That's what they are informing about, is plans and other things that are in the works, what they're hearing on the ground as January 6th approaches. That's how they use confidential informants, to inform. But here we are with an actual real life congressional staffer saying, why didn't you guys turn over the names of these confidential informants to the target of your investigation so what? I know what they want to do. They want to intimidate them as witnesses in any capacity. But this is ridiculous. Like, this is not right. I know that's a feeling word, but it doesn't make any sense.
What you're saying, I haven't read the filing. What I recall is there was also a database of evidence from January 6th that the DC U.S. Attorney's Office would give access to defendants who were involved in those cases, and we gave President Trump and his attorneys access to that. I'm not sure they ever accessed it, but
Okay.
I do recall that, and there may have been a filing like you talked about.
Okay. Make it an exhibit. The next exhibit will be number
So he
12.
could
And
prove
this is a
his
letter
story that the FBI staged the insurrection.
from-
His FBI.
Stanley Woodward.
The same FBI that didn't release the information on Epstein when they got it in January of 2020. Okay? There's a fact for you. The same FBI that sat on information that could have impacted the election and disclosed the activities of one of the candidates for said election. But no, they didn't. They protected him. You know, I was thinking about that, Teresa. How does Merrick Garland feel about the people he left behind? How does he feel about the people who then ended up in the hot seat for his uncompleted work? I want to believe that Merrick Garland did everything he could. I really do. And he needs to tell me. And I'm sure he's going to tell me in a book that he wants me to pay $39.95 for, which I'm not going to. I'm all for revolution. Let's revolt. I'm ready. I'm ready. But I'm also not going to engage in just like, oh, Dems are stupid, because I just can't. I need to be specific. Like, I need to be specific, because otherwise that's just giving power over to an adversarial view. And I'm not here to do that. I'll be specific, and, you know, although I can say all maggots are assholes. But yeah, and so Cash could fire and dox them. You know, like, come on now. Let's do some math here once in a while. Talk about logic. Yeah, libraries. Why buy a book?
And Brands about the interactions they had with Jay Bratt on August 24th, 2022, before you were appointed special counsel. You familiar
Watch
with
for windows.
the allegations that Mr. Woodward raised about Mr. Bratt?
Yes.
I'm going to refer you to two paragraphs in this letter. The first paragraph is the last one on page 1, and the second paragraph on page 2. And please, familiarize yourself with this.
I am a proud
But I just
member
wanted to
of the
flag in
Los
advance that
Angeles
I'm going
Library
to zero your
System.
attention
Thank you
in
very much.
on those two paragraphs.
Yes.
Okay. This letter to Judge Boasberg from Brandon Woodward states that again, this is the last paragraph on page 1. Despite the purported purpose of the meeting, it began with Department Attorney Jay Bratt referencing a folder of materials in highlighting Mr. Woodward's professional background. Specifically, Mr. Bratt remarked that he was aware of the fact that Mr. Woodward had been recommended for a presidential nomination to the Superior Court of the District of Columbia. Mr. Bratt also advised that the government's case against Mr. Nuada was strong, referencing his belief that one way or the other, Mr. Nuada would be giving up a lifestyle of private planes and private golf courses, and that it would behoove him, Mr. Nuada, to cooperate in the government's investigation. It was inappropriate for Mr. Bratt to mention the fact that Mr. Woodward had been recommended for a presidential nomination to the Superior Court of the District of Columbia. The only rational inference to be drawn from this reference, combined with the assertion that the government's case against Mr. Nuada was strong and that Mr. Woodward was not a so-called Trump attorney who would do the right thing, is that somehow Mr. Woodward's potential nomination to the Superior Court would be implicated by Mr. Nuada's decision not to cooperate in the government's investigation. Indeed, to the best of Mr. Woodward's recollection, Mr. Bratt concluded his observations with words to the effect of, "I wouldn't want you to do anything to mess that up," referring to the potential nomination.
All right, so this is one of those little things that maggots hang on. So during a meeting, I guess with Walt Nauta's attorneys, there was this conversation that they just there's a ton of feeling going on here, but there's pieces of that conversation with the attorney for Walt Nauta. You know, the dumps valet, his butler or whoever, handler, I don't know what he is. And this guy is trying to claim that let me get it straight, that number one, that it was inappropriate for the feds to tell Nauta's lawyer that they had a strong case against his client, which is bullshit. I call bullshit on that. That's what fucking cops do. I'm sorry. Hello. Where is the cat cam? I don't know. Where are the cats? I have no idea where the cats are. So there's one thing that comes out of this situation. The other thing that comes out of this situation is that they're implying that somehow the fact that another person altogether was a lawyer involved in the situation and was up for a judgeship, and that somehow if Nauta didn't cooperate, the judgeship would not happen for this other person that's unrelated to the conversation. I mean, he's a Trump lawyer, but whatever. So you're telling me that Nauta's lawyers felt intimidated by the fact that another lawyer may or may not get a judgeship in a Democrat administration, which, you know, again, doesn't happen because Democrats don't do that. But it's not abnormal also for Democrats to nominate judges to Superior Court that don't collude with traitors. So there's, you know, a this and that. So again, another line of bullshit from the Republicans. It's embarrassing. It's really embarrassing.
It is, of course, noteworthy that the statements given rise to this
Mr.
inference
Nauta, don't
were coming
fucking
from a
break the
senior
law,
official
and then
with
you
the
won't be
Justice
in that
Department.
position.
I asked you whether you had a recollection of these events, and you said you did.
I do.
Do you think it was inappropriate for Mr. Bratt to make a suggestion to Mr. Woodward that, you know, he ought to he ought to cooperate, and if he does cooperate, if Mr. Vuada chooses to cooperate, the implication was that his
Woodward was
his,
Nauta's lawyer.
application to
I got
be,
that wrong. Let me say that they're saying that the lawyer for Nauta actually felt threatened because they were up for this judgeship. So that's what is he's trying to convey. So I got it a little wrong, and I apologize. In essence, though, the issue is the same in that if Woodward is literally up for a superior court, I don't know what power a federal prosecutor would have against a superior court appointment, I guess. But also, at this point in time, Biden is president. So would it be illegal to trade weed for beer? No. So I guess I understand the implication, but I'm having a hard time believing that inference was somehow kind of like would just veto the entire set of evidence and what the crux of that conversation really was, and that Mr. Nauta should cooperate. You know what I mean? And I know they hinge everything on supposed bias. And I'm saying if the prosecutor or if the investigator said that to Nauta's lawyer, whatever. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if Jack's going to reject that. Maybe. I'm interested to hear his answer. But I just want to set up that that's the intricate type of spider web they're trying to create here in their own ham-handed way. Anyway, here we go.
A judge will be looked on more favorably by the Democrats at the Justice Department.
I don't think that happened, but I'm happy to share with you my perspective on this.
Okay.
So,
And let me just say
Yeah.
one thing, if I may.
Sure.
These judges for the District of Columbia, I mean, the Justice Department weighs in on it. Is that not the case? I mean, the White House counsel's office, works to come up with the names they're gonna submit for a nomination. But the way the procedure works is the Justice Department, does the vetting.
I don't think I knew that until this issue came
Okay.
up, which I'm happy
Yeah.
to explain. So, with the District of Columbia, particularly.
Right. Okay.
Very short time before this, matter of days, this is right around the time we had given notice that we intended to move forward with an indictment in the classified documents case of both Mr. Trump, President Trump, and Mr. Nauta. As is my practice in cases like this, we gave Mr. Trump's attorneys an opportunity to come in and give me argument as to why not to indict the case. And in the course of my life, I've heard those arguments and sometimes not move forward on cases. In this particular situation, because my decision would ultimately be reviewed by the Attorney General, who could countermand it, that meeting was with me and Bradley Weisheimer, who was in the Justice Department. Mr. Trump's attorneys were there. It was Jim Trusty, Lindsay Halligan, and there was a third attorney who I can't remember, but I'm sure there's a record of who that was. They gave reasons why they thought the case shouldn't be indicted. And for the first time, this is my recollection, they raised this issue that somehow Jay Bratt had threatened Stanley Woodard. Now, I was surprised by this because we had interacted, I hadn't, but my counsel had interacted with Mr. Woodard numerous times over my time as special counsel. He not only represented Walt Nauta, he represented other witnesses on the classified documents case. He represented, I believe, multiple people in the elections case. And so all this time passing, this has never been raised before. I went back to my office. That meeting was at the main Justice Building. I went back to my office, and very shortly afterwards, I informed my deputy, J.P. Cooney, about this and Ray Hulser about this. They contacted Mr. Woodard to ask him about this. I believe there are notes about that, notes of either J.P. Cooney or Ray Hulser. I'm not sure. My recollection of that, and again, they would remember this better, is that Mr. Woodard expressed surprise that anybody had raised this. And he said something to the effect of, well, I know how to make a complaint if I want to. Take that for what you will.
So all to say it didn't happen. Because the guy that they claim was threatened by Jay Bratt says it didn't happen. And that, furthermore, he didn't just say it didn't happen. He said, if I had wanted to file a complaint, I know how to do it. That's what Woodward said. That's what really happened. It didn't happen. He wasn't threatened. God. I don't know how to scream this from the rooftops anymore. And maybe people will start to understand why disinformation gets me so fucking heated, because it is so fucking woven into this that lying with impunity is now acceptable because the man at the top of the chain said, you know, grab him by the pussy, and is now throwing all the books and materials. Are you kidding? The Goddard NASA library laid the employees off. Do we know that? I'm going to find some reporting on that. They just lied. They lied. That's the first time I've heard this. That's the first time I've heard that actually it was a complete fabrication. I thought maybe it was just like either he said something and you know, they spun it like he's forcing us to do it. Yeah, they want Jack to confirm. They want him to affirm their feelings. This is really what this is all about. Oh my God. I can't believe this world. I really can't. I mean, fuck, man.
That was the initial response.
What day was this?
Yeah,
What time frame? Generally.
like early June. So like
Okay.
before the meeting with the attorneys was in the days before we ultimately went forward with the case. I'm not sure how late this letter was after this
Okay.
when I came back to the office. I tasked Mr. Cooney and Mr. Hulser to speak to the people who were present for this meeting. None of them believed that Jay Bratt would threaten Mr. Woodard. It didn't make a lot of sense that a career prosecutor would, in the first meeting with the counsel they never met, threaten them. One of the things they asked about was this issue about the judicial nominating thing. And Mr. Bratt explained that he had not met Mr. Woodard before and not had a case with him, so he had looked him up. And when you pull up information about Mr. Woodard at the time, there's a page that comes up, and we attached this in one of our motions. It says Stanley Woodard Judicial Nominating Commission. That page makes it look like he is on, at least if you look at it quickly, on the Judicial Nominating Commission, not that he has a candidacy. Mr. Bratt explained to us that he was under the impression that Mr. Woodard was on the commission and raised it as a sort of like icebreaker, like, I understand you're on this commission. Now, whether Mr. Woodard misunderstood that or some other reason, here he says he drew an inference that he was making some sort of threat. That didn't make a lot of sense to me, given all the interactions he'd had with our office. I think Mr. Woodard later started talking about a campaign against him, but he had meetings with people in my office repeatedly in positive ways. And finally, I also thought it was noteworthy that Mr. Woodard didn't bring up this issue for many months. And then the first time that he brings it up in this letter, he's doing it to seek strategic advantage because he didn't report it to OPR, didn't want it reported to OPR, never asked that. And now he wants it not only reported to OPR, but he actually wants to delay the indictment of the case until that's concluded. I will say that when we confronted, I say we, my deputies spoke to Mr. Brat about this. He self-reported it to OPR, which is pretty standard in these sort of situations. And so, and I would also just say, this was some time ago. We did a filing on this that I believe is public, and that filing will reflect my best recollection of these things. And so I did not credit these allegations, but we made sure they were referred to OPR.
But, you know, a counterpoint to that, if Woodward has a bunch of cases before your office and he's, you know, representing a bunch of people, I mean, he may have felt threatened, but he also may have felt that it was in his strategic advantage to just try to forget about it because he doesn't want to make an enemy of Jay Bratt.
Oh, so we're,
mean, isn't
we're
that
guessing
a
what
fair
his
counterpoint?
feelings were now in this situation?
I don't think so, based
What the
on
fuck?
the number of interactions we've had with him, and also the fact that he didn't even bring it up.
I would just say, I'm not here
Someone
to
else
talk
brought
about
it
what
up,
someone's
and when he
feelings
was-
might have been.
Again,
Do you
I
have
was
another
told when he was
question?
confronted with it, he was surprised someone brought it
Which,
up.
again, why I'm not
Made a reference of, I know how to make a complaint if I need to. That was my recollection.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he did make the complaint, he didn't just say, I think this should be referred to OPR. He said, and it may be in this letter, that yes, I think that this, let me make sure I get the language correct. Yes. We respectfully suggest that this matter be referred to the department's Office of Professional Responsibility for a thorough investigation, and that any indictment arising from this investigation not lie until such an assessment is reached, knowing, as we do, that an OPR investigation can take many, many months.
You know, I'm pretty sure.
That's my take on what happened. And I think our office responded appropriately to this. I don't credit it, but at the same time, we referred it to OPR so they could look into it.
So if it did happen the way Mr. Woodward or Mr. Brand say it did, you would have an issue with that then? Is that fair?
I have no evidence that any of my prosecutors threatened defense attorneys. If prosecutors under my supervision threatened defense attorneys, they wouldn't be working with me any longer.
Okay. You know, Woodward here is talking about essentially a veiled threat that, he believes, Bratt was mentioning this off the cuff to try to, try to get him to play ball with Nautilus cooperation. So if that had happened, you certainly wouldn't condone that, would you?
I would not condone anyone threatening a defense attorney, but I also say that if you've practiced law and practiced criminal law, I mean, that's just not something that would work. I mean, that's not something that I've seen an experienced prosecutor do, and to do it in front of several other prosecutors. It just, in addition to, for all the reasons I said I didn't credit it, I also think it just doesn't make a lot of sense. But to your point, if, unlike this situation, a lawyer who worked under me threatened a defense attorney, yes, that would be inappropriate.
During the last hour, turning the page to a different topic, you said that you had not yet considered a sentencing recommendation had President Trump been found guilty in either one of the cases. I mean, do you think that you would have recommended,
Don't do it.
do you think you would have
Don't do it.
recommended a jail sentence, prison sentence, if he was convicted?
I'm not going to speculate that on that, because that would require a very detailed analysis of the sentencing guidelines factors, of what he was convicted of any mitigating factors. That's not something you do off the cuff, whether someone should be incarcerated or not, or how long. That's not something I would do without significant analysis.
And had your office undertaken any type of analysis on that front?
In terms of a thorough analysis, I don't recall anything like that. I'm sure that we knew how much the sentence could be in each individual thing, but I certainly had not turned to thinking about what sentences should be. As a rule, I don't do that until there's a conviction in a case.
Okay, and but what would have the sentence have been for the charges that you indicted for?
Okay, wait. He wants him to say a number so that they can release that information saying Jack Smith was trying to put Dump in prison for decades. He was going to let him die in prison. Jack Smith was going to let the president die in prison. What is the world coming to when Jack Smith would put the president in prison for decades? That's what's coming. Don't fall for it, baby. Please don't fall for it. Please. Please don't fall for it.
I'm not going to speculate. I mean, if we sat down and went over the sentencing guidelines, we could talk about what that would be, but I have not done that analysis, and I haven't thought or looked at or thought about that
And it would
issue.
be irresponsible of me to speculate otherwise.
Would that analysis
Next
have yielded
question.
some jail time, or recommendation for some jail time?
Again, I'm not going to speculate on that because, as I mentioned earlier, you only get to that if you try your case and you prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. We did not do that in this case. There was no trial, and we didn't do that.
All right. Bye, DIY. I'll see you later. Thank you so much for coming in.
Just, we have a couple minutes left in our round, so I was just making sure we didn't, if we had some members here that needed to ask some questions, we'll make sure we factor that in.
Okay, Greasy,
The,
so be safe driving.
An individual who worked for Mark Meadows by the name of Cassidy Hutchison was she was a star witness for the January 6th committee proceedings, and she made some real outlandish claims.
Outlandish. That's a feelings
That,
word.
for example, one of them was that President Trump tried to take control of the wheel of the Suburban that he was being driven in. Is that an allegation that
I wouldn't play poker with Jack Smith.
The circumstances regarding President Trump getting in the Secret Service vehicle after the Ellipse speech, yes, I am.
Okay, and what did your offices, did you evaluate that claim?
We did.
Okay, and what was your determination?
Ms. Hutchinson, regarding that particular claim, was a second or even third-hand witness. She had heard other people talk about that.
Okay.
And so we went to, we interviewed, I think, the people she talked to, and then we also interviewed, my recollection's correct, officers who were there, and including the officer who was in the car.
Right.
That officer, if my recollection is correct, and I want to make sure I'm right about this, said that President Trump was very angry and wanted to go to the Capitol, but the version of events that he explained was not the same as what Cassidy Hutchinson said she heard from somebody secondhand. That's
Okay.
correct.
On the morning of January 6th, White House officials told President Trump that people at the rally had weapons. This is the President Trump's speech on the ellipse, and that they did not want to go through magnetometers because they didn't want their weapons confiscated. Cassidy Hutchison initially testified that no one informed President Trump before or during the rally that people did not want to pass through the magnetometers because they didn't want their weapons confiscated.
I think there were multiple
During a
reports,
subsequent
not just
interview,
hers.
she sort of changed her tune a little bit and claimed that Deputy Chief of Staff for Operations Tony Ornato and other officials did inform President Trump that people standing outside the rally area did not want to go through the magnetometers because they did not want their weapons confiscated. Other witnesses contradicted this claim pretty thoroughly. Did your office evaluate that claim?
Yes, and I think I discussed this earlier. We interviewed a number of people, and I think on this particular claim, there were a number of different perspectives about that. I believe it was Ms. Hutchinson, Mr. Ornato, I believe Mr. Meadows we spoke to about this. As I sit here right now, I cannot
Wow,
recall
real reliable narrators there.
what each of them said. I know each of them were seeing it from a different perspective, and they were with Mr. Trump at slightly different times. So as I sit here now, I can't recall, but I do recall that there were different perspectives on that question, yes.
Did your office consider whether you would call Cassidy Hutchison as a witness at trial?
We didn't make a final determination about any witnesses, but my recollection as I sit here now is that one of the issues, there were two issues really. One, there were so many witnesses that we could have called, and there was a need if we wanted to present a case in a digestible format where there wasn't just weeks and weeks and weeks of testimony, we had to slim it down. And my recollection with Ms. Hutchinson that at least one of the issues was a number of the things that she gave evidence on were secondhand hearsay, were things that she'd heard from other people. And as a result, that testimony may or may not be admissible, and it certainly wouldn't be as powerful as firsthand testimony. So I don't recall if we made a final determination about that, but I remember in my mind that being a consideration that some of the things that she could offer testimony on would be hearsay, and we wanted to condense the case as much as possible for a clear presentation.
Did you reach a determination about whether her testimony was reliable?
I don't recall reaching any sort of conclusion like that because we were, again, far away from trial. We hadn't made final determinations.
If you were a defense attorney and you were given the assignment of cross-examining Ms. Hutchison, would you consider that assignment a very challenging one?
Well, if I were a defense attorney and Ms. Hutchinson were a witness, the first thing I would do is seek to preclude some of her testimony because it was hearsay. And I don't have the full range of her testimony in front of me right now, but I do remember that that was a decent part of it, and so that would have been my first gambit if I was a defense attorney.
There was other evidence where she said she wrote a note, whether it was to Mr. Meadows or Mr. Trump,
Yep.
But it wasn't her handwriting. Eric Hirschman wrote the note.
Yes, there was a conflict between them on that issue. That's correct.
You know, a witness says, I wrote a note, that's my handwriting. I mean, that's a pretty serious, potentially false statement, correct?
Well, like I said, we didn't make any final determinations about who we were going to call or not, but there were instances, you cited a couple where we had evidence, we had different perspectives about an issue, we had secondhand hearsay about an issue, or two witnesses not remembering something the same way. So those are all accurate.
Was your office, let me restate and just say that numerous witnesses that were ensnared by the investigation complained that they were...
Many witnesses who were, ensnared, like a trapped animal in the forest, like a little baby rabbit that gets trapped by a big, mean, whatever, hunter. It's Wascally Wabbit. This guy's Elmer Fudd. Okay, now I get it.
Debanked. Does the term debank mean something to you?
No.
Where they were basically told by their bank.
Okay. Oh my God, this is like trauma all over again. I guess trauma is all over again. Anyway, the trauma that I'm experiencing right at this moment is the debanked thing. Okay, so if you remember, maybe you don't, but if you watch Mike Lindell as closely as I watch Mike Lindell, then you'll know that there was a huge issue when him and My Pillow were debanked by their bank because, I don't know, the bank decided they didn't want to be affiliated with a Cuckoo Bananas boy who tried to overthrow an election. I don't know. Banks make decisions like that. Go figure. Yeah, the debank doesn't mean anything to him. So this is also another boondoggle that the GOP is trying to sell you, that somehow everybody's the victim because big old mean banks, who we usually like, but now in this case maybe we don't like them, big old banks won't bank us. They won't bank us because why? Because of the way we act. And banks and other corporations have a thing called reputational risk. And sometimes they make decisions about their reputation where they don't want to have certain clients because they don't want to be affiliated with money laundering or other things like that. So they debanked Mike Lindell. He made a huge motherfucking stink about it. And Steve Bannon picked up on that one and made it a whole motherfucking thing. And so now debanked is permanently etched in the smooth brains of our friends on the GOP. Yeah, bank demonizing. Could have been. Yeah, could have been. I think it's really just they were mean to us because you notice they're not going after Jamie Dimon. Okay? They're not going after Jamie Dimon. It technically is a word. I've heard it. It's probably colloquial in the financial services industry. But yes, debanked is something that they say in the financial services industry when financial services won't touch you. Yeah. Yeah, because I worked in financial services. Sometimes you do break off relationships with clients because you don't want to be engaged with what they're doing. You think they're either manipulating or the money's sus or whatever it is. And guess what? Some banks decide to bank with you because of that stuff. Looking at you, Deutsche Bank. Looking at you, UBS. Looking at you, Jamie Dimon. Yeah. Epstein much? Never knew about him. Jamie Dimon took over JP Morgan in 2019, but never heard about Jeffrey Epstein or his machinations. Isn't that interesting? You become the CEO of one of the major banks on the globe, but nobody bothers to debrief you about your most notorious employee. How does that work? It doesn't, because it doesn't happen. Jamie Dimon is lying, and he's covering up for pedophiles. Look it up.
That they needed to go find a different bank. And there's a long list of, Trump allied, officials that were subpoenaed for the grand jury that were, brought into your investigation that claim they had been debanked, and that Capital One told them to go find a different bank, and numerous other banks. Do you know anything about that?
No, I do not.
Okay. So your office didn't have any communications with banks urging a bank to separate from any of their customers?
I have no knowledge of that.
Are you aware of that allegation, or is this the first you're hearing of it?
I'm trying to think. I didn't know
Give a
what the
shit
term
about that
meant when you
allegation,
first said
or
it, so...
am I just yanking
I mean, in the
my
scheme
own
of the
dick
world,
here?
have I heard of the word debanking? Maybe, but if you'd asked me to define it when you first said it, I don't think I could have.
Okay. But have you, so you haven't heard that allegation that some of the folks in President Trump's inner circle have complained that they, were kicked out of their bank?
Complain to the special counsel's office?
No, they've complained publicly that the fallout from this investigation has made their life very difficult. That they have been, been forced to get a new bank because Capital One won't support them.
I don't recall that, but I'm not denying that people may have said that. I'm not aware of it.
This is sort of the first you're hearing of it.
As far as I can recollect, yes. Well, actually, sir, can I just add one thing there?
Of course.
When you were interacting with my counsel and talking about the issues you might ask about, you said debanking was one of the issues. That was the first I'd ever heard about it.
Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough. Looks like our hour's mostly up here, so I'll stop there. Can we go off the record?
Okay, I'm back. Hold on. Let me get us back over there. Let's see what's happening. Oh, what? I really want the off the record stuff. Damn it. Oh, maybe they just had to poop. They might have just had to poop. Looks like everybody just sat down.
Mr. Smith, do
Jamie
you
Raskin.
believe that the Supreme Court's decision on executive immunity constitutes an exoneration of President Trump's conduct in the months and weeks leading up to January 6th and January 6th?
No.
Would you just explain that for us, why you don't see that as an exoneration for what he did?
Sure. I understand the Supreme Court decision if I just go back for a second, this was an issue we litigated in the district court. The district court agreed with us. We litigated it in the Court of
Karen,
Appeals.
guarantee
Court of
Jamie
Appeals
did the math
agreed
in
with
his
us.
head.
We litigated
He's
in the
not
Supreme
stupid.
Court. Supreme Court majority did not agree with us. They
he can
took
just
a
sit there and go,
view
"Oh,
of executive power
oh,
that was
Jeffrey
more
Epstein,
expansive than
who's
what we
that?
argued.
I never heard of him.
I disagreed with it for the reasons we set forth in our brief and the reasons stated by the dissent in the case, Justice Sotomayor. But it is the law of the land. And what my office sought to do in responding to that was to follow the law and see, do we still have a case? And I think the evidence that we had after that decision remained powerful. I talked earlier today about state officials who put allegiance to the country before party. Those officials from Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, all those.
Georgia.
I'm sorry.
Georgia.
All those witnesses, right, all those witnesses would still be available to us. The heart of our case would still be available to us. And I think it's important to know that, well, you know, our view was that he abused his authority in the Justice Department to effect, as one way to effectuate this scheme. This was about him as a candidate trying to say he won an election he didn't win. And so having to frame this in that manner, obviously it limited some of the evidence. That's why we had to supersede the indictment. But I don't think it was an exoneration because I still believed that there was substantial evidence that would allow us to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt.
Someone can be guilty of a crime in a factual sense, but still be immunized from prosecution, right?
Well, I mean, that's getting sort of like theoretical or metaphysical. I mean, if the court says that that's not a crime, then it's not a crime. But in our case, our view was that that ruling excised a certain portion of our proof, but all the charges we brought, we felt were still valid. We felt we still had a lot of evidence to support those charges.
Right. Did you have any questions? But I wonder if you would answer a question based on your experience as a war crimes prosecutor. And I don't know whether over the course of your long and distinguished career you've come to articulate a difference between ordinary crimes, run-of-the-mill crimes, and crimes that have some kind of world historical significance. Perhaps so, perhaps not. But I wonder if you do put war crimes, for example, in a different category from, say, for example, robberies that you prosecuted, how you would think about classifying the crimes that you had investigated and were prepared to prosecute related to January 6th and the attempt to overthrow a presidential election.
So I think as a prosecutor, how you go about investigating those cases and make a decision to prosecute those cases, in my view, the principles in the robbery case or in my early career domestic violence case, those are the exact same principles you'd use in the most terrible war crimes case or in the work I had as special counsel. You follow the facts and the law. Nobody's above the law. You treat everybody the same. Applying those principles in more complex cases requires experience, and it's one of the reasons I felt I was qualified to do this job. But the principles, I think, remain the same. In my view, my personal view, is that the difference is the harm. Domestic violence case is awful, should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law, but generally there's one victim. War crimes cases that I've worked on can affect an entire country and entire culture. I think, and this isn't just me, the Court of Appeals in this case, when we litigated it, said that if the things we alleged were proven, it would amount to attack on the structure of our democracy. Those aren't my words, those are the court's words. And so Whether a case is of that import or of less, I think you go about it the same way, but obviously the consequences for our country are quite different.
Have you made any statements, or are you willing to make any statements on the firing and removal of Department of Justice prosecutors who worked on January 6th, on people at the FBI who were involved in the FBI investigation, or on the president's mass summary pardon of 1,600 January 6th insurrectionists and other people involved?
With the auto pen, by the way.
Yeah.
Just
I
saying.
think what has happened to career prosecutors and career FBI agents is awful. It's contrary to the rule of law. It's contrary to who I think we are as a country.
Oh, Paul J, it's so good to see you.
One of the agents on our case,
Oh, love, it's so good to see
he
you.
he served his country overseas multiple times, war zones. Family of dedicated public servants, wife's family, dedicated public servants. He got fired for doing his job 2 weeks after his wife died. I went to the funeral. I saw his family. I saw a church full of public servants. No reason a person like that should have to go through that. And I'm getting emotional. I'm sorry about that. But I just think that's wrong.
Well, thank you for your service to America.
This is,
and to the
where are
Department
men
of
like
Justice and
this?
the people.
Can somebody find me a man
Following
that's
up on
like
that a
this
little
that's
bit,
available?
If
Like
individuals
emotionally
are
available?
fired or lose their job simply for taking part of an investigation into someone who is an authority figure or in a high position of government, how does that impact our democracy?
Smart,
Well,
compassionate.
If you take the position
Fuck,
that you
man.
cannot work in the federal government unless you have a political allegiance to the president, I think there are many harms to that. Our country tried that in the past. It's called the patronage system. And what we learned in our history is, and this would be, if it's a Democrat or Republican, would not matter. But what we learned is that those systems are rife with not only corruption, but with incompetence. Because the people who have these jobs, they didn't get them because of merit, because they dedicated their career to learning national security law, to learning how to properly investigate a case. They got their jobs because they're loyal to a particular person. That's not fair, but it also makes for people who really don't know how to do the work. And so I think that's a danger to the country. It saddens and angers me in the short term, but I think there are great costs to us long term if that's the direction we go in.
I'm going to pull on that last bit of your answer, if you don't mind, the damage it could cause long term. Do you mind elaborating that a little bit, especially as it relates to, recruiting the talent to the government, to public service who actually has the knowledge and the specialty and the competence to do the job? What types of dangers do you see if this continues?
Well, I've just seen career prosecutors who have served, again, Republican and Democratic administrations over and over again. These are the knowledge sources in the department in different areas. These are the people who mentor young lawyers. And when you take them away, those young lawyers don't have anybody to learn from. My experience in the department,
Wait, are
again,
you telling
doesn't
us
matter
that,
the administration. These are not partisans. They're people
that
who
Turk
have
Blanche
decided
isn't a good
they don't want to make
mentor?
a lot of
Is
money.
that what
They're
you're
not
trying to
looking
tell
for
us?
fame. They just want to do good work.
Good afternoon,
And I think
JFK.
when you lose
How
that
are you,
culture,
darling?
you lose a
Happy
lot.
New Year. Nice to see you. Thank
Speaking
you.
of,
You make me feel so
sections within the
special all
government
time.
or within DOJ specifically that have particular skill sets and knowledge, I want to talk a little bit about the public integrity section, or PIN. That's come up earlier in the majority's hours, but what's the mission of PIN?
The public integrity section was formed after Watergate, and the section litigates complex corruption cases around the country. It does some of those cases on its own. It does, or at least during my time there, it also does cases in conjunction with, in partnership with local U.S. Attorney's Office, bringing expertise about some of the issues we've talked about today to them. And it also is a sort of clearinghouse for expertise on these issues, like the speech or debate clause or things of that nature.
Does the public integrity section play a role in checking potential abuses by DOJ as it relates to investigating members of Congress?
Well, in particular, I think it's valuable for prosecutors to make sure they get things right. They're the sort of keeper of these issues, and they're the people you go to make sure you're doing things the right way.
I guess, are you aware of some of the firings or dismantling that's been going on with the public integrity section since the beginning of 2025?
Yes.
Do you care to elaborate on how this might affect the investigations or prosecutions of public corruption and bribery case that you just mentioned?
Well, I'm concerned that the department is going to cease to have an ability to prosecute public corruption, that there's going to be the expertise necessary to do that,
And also
or
getting
the
rid of all those corruption
direction to do
units
that.
is probably,
And so,
that's not gonna
again,
help.
I think there's short-term costs and long-term costs.
Isn't PIN also kind of a gatekeeper or for even beginning any kind of prosecution or investigation of public figures or congressional members? Like, don't department regulations require that PIN be consulted or provide approval before certain steps can be taken, or litigation can commence?
That's correct. There are several enumerated investigative steps or procedures that public integrity oversees. It's not so much for public figures, but more for, again, members of Congress, people who are in government positions where the investigations are sensitive, and it's important that we get it right and we do it, work on the same standards, everyone works off the same standards.
And what
Say,
happens
Grace,
so
I did not expect
when
us to be this dumb.
public integrity is
at this
dismantled
point in
and that
time.
protection is removed?
Well, it always existed during my career in the department, and I fear without it, there'll be, as I said, an inability to prosecute public corruption,
Lindsay.
and also a lack of expertise that when you do it, to do it the right way.
I think during the majority
Lindsay
hour,
Hallican can't
there
even
were
indict a
some
ham sandwich, okay? She can't.
intimations that,
There's no ham
PIN
sandwich she can indict.
sometimes maybe rubber stamping approvals, or when, prosecutors consult with them, they just provide their clearance or approval without really engaging with the issues. Has that been your experience?
No.
All right.
Well, we're going to turn now to
Perfect. He says we're going to turn now to, and it's going to be a different subject. So we have at least an hour and a half of this left. I'm going to go ahead and cut us off here on this particular one. And we're going to finish it. We'll finish it Monday because there's no actual congressional stuff happening on Monday. So we can go ahead and pick it up on Monday. Oh, wait, that's me. I didn't want to do that. Hold on. Whoa. Wow. I'm so glad we're watching this. Thank you so much for letting me watch this and watching it with me. Because this is the kind of stuff that I don't have always the patience to watch it on my own. But it's much easier to watch. And then I learn when you guys make comments on it, I learn more in the process. So I just want to say this is actually really important. And I think this one in particular, because he is so well-spoken and so measured and so calm, it's first of all delightful to hear someone talk like that after what we usually subject ourselves to. And number two, it's really, it's very helpful to me to really understand what his side of the story is. And I just think it's a virtual salon. That's right. It is a salon. Moral and historical, very much so. And something that I don't feel we have quite enough information on in terms of what happened and how it got so unexpectedly fucked. So... All right. So tonight, oh, yeah, even the GOP lawyer is better than the reps. I mean, really, if every hearing was like this, our lives would be much different. But unfortunately, there's Jim Jordan. Notice that none of them are really speaking. I don't hear a lot of Jim Jordan. I don't think I've heard one Jim Jordan question this entire time. Isn't that weird? Why is that, Jim? Why is that, Jim Jordan? But yeah, very interesting. But I what was I going to say? Oh yeah, tonight is trivia. It's trivia tonight. It's Friday night, you guys. Come on. That's so exciting. So it's trivia tonight at 6:30 p.m. Pacific, right after the live 5-8. The 5-8 is on tonight at 5, and I come on right after at around at 6:30. So they probably will be finished by then. And so come on over if you watch the 5-8. Come on over to the lounge after and play some really ridiculous trivia with us and laugh about things. So first get educated with LB and Greg Olear, who we love so much, and then come over and I'll sap all the knowledge that they just gave you right out of your brain and dumb you right back down. What day is it? It's Friday. Thank God it's Friday. Friday. Anyway, I think you guys are... Oh, yeah, early about the phone stuff. That's right. Jim Jordan did question him early on about the phone records, which, of course, is another stupid thing we've already talked about. So I will see you tonight for trivia. Jim was scared. Yeah, I know. He is scared. It comes up when I search. Oh, fingers. That's like a little heart, like a little, I love you. I love you. I love you. All right. So I hope I see you guys tonight at trivia. If I don't, I hope you have a wonderful Friday night or whatever time it is when you're watching this. And then we also still have to vote on movies for tomorrow. So I still need movies idea. It looks like the money rub. No, it's like a heart. They do that now like a heart. See? Like it's a little heart. Get it? Get it? Get it? That's a snap. Okay. All right. I love you guys. I'll see you later. I'm Lolo. I'm out. Thank you so much for coming. I hope you have a wonderful day.